Hi, my name is Janet Molbeck. I'm the executive director of Interweave. We're a small nonprofit here in New Jersey working to support spirituality for daily living, an integrated spirituality that nurtures wellness, the common good, and your spiritual life. Each year, we have a telethon. It's a way of keeping that work going. If you didn't have a chance to tune in, we hope you'll take advantage of this second opportunity. We want to thank you for supporting our work with 12 wonderful conversations about nurturing hope through prayer and practice, art and action. Thank you in advance for being there for Interweave and for the spiritual life in raising up the importance of hope. What we say here at Interweave is, let hope live in you. Thank you. Happy holiday. Morning and welcome to Interweave's 4th annual virtual telethon. And yes, we'll be going to coming to you live today with 12 exciting conversations to enliven your spiritual life and really on our theme of nurturing hope. And we are very excited about this and happy to be here. So I am here today and I'm just with our guests, our morning guests, and I want to thank them for being here in particular because after all, they are what you call our morning drive. And so good to begin with such dear friends, Dilek Oztoprak and Shawn Carty. Good morning, my friends. Um, just to tell you a little bit about each of them, Dilek is actually, both of them are members of our Interweave board and bring always their perspective, their warmth, their love, their compassion, all the things that are, by the way, trademarks of Interweave and what we try to bring to the world. You will see in these two people and in the conversation we're about to have. And obviously, all of this is happening in support of Interweave and the work we do. We just like to do these things in a way that gives back to you. So thank you for being with us this morning. Dilek is our second vice president of Interweave. She's also a teacher and a professor at Rutgers University in New Brunswick. Did I get it right,
Oh
Dilek?
yeah, yeah.
And she is also a member of Peace Islands, a core member of our Daughters of Abraham group, and uh, I could go on and on, but I think I better stop there and go on to Shawn Carty, who is here all the way from, wait for it, Shawn, Idaho.
Yay. That's
And
right.
Shawn is also a member. He's the secretary of our board, and he's also an Episcopalian priest, an Episcopal priest, and the priest in charge at Twin Falls. Did I get it right in Idaho? Wow. And Shawn has so many gifts. Aside from the fact that he's an amazing preacher, he's also the host of our Hearth program, which if you're welcome to join us third Thursdays of every month around the hearth, which is about stories that hold us together and bring us together as a community. So, and this morning, we are beginning our first conversation with the two of them. I want to get the title of your conversation right. we are nurturing hope through the art of hospitality. And uh, actually, this is the fourth year you've come and talked to us about the art of hospitality. And it's kind of a tradition to become a tradition to open with this conversation, because it's so at the core of who we are at Interweave. And Dilek and Shawn share this signature gift. Did you see what I was doing there, Shawn? I was slowing down the way you always tell me to, so that people were really listening to this important part. Um, so Shawn, why don't I start with you and just say you have a deep history with hospitality, which is one of the reasons this is your signature gift. And why don't I let you tell us why that is so important in your life and why it's a signature gift for you.
Hmm. Wow, good. Well, good morning. Thank you. What a delight to be back together again. We've been doing this, as you said, for several years, and it's fun to be the first ones in the morning. I'm in the mountain time zone, so it's a little earlier here, and I haven't quite finished my first cup of tea, but we'll
I'm
get there. But
working.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, hospitality has always been a big thing for me, and as we've talked about in years past, but folks may be listening today who aren't, haven't been listening in previous years. But my background includes family having a bed and breakfast inn, and that was my job during summers when I was in college to be the innkeeper. So, when you hear stories about innkeepers, particularly those of us looking ahead to Christmas, I know what that's like to have somebody call when you don't have room at the inn, and you still try to be hospitable as much as you can. And that also has included for me work with camps and conference centers. And then some of folks from Interweave particularly know me because of my work having managed the retreat house at the community of St. John Baptist in Mendham. And so, yeah, hospitality's been in my blood, if you will. I grew up with very hospitable people. And so I think that just sort of carries over into who I am and what I do. And then as a parish priest, I think hospitality is terribly important. Folks who, come to the church door and want to see what's inside and be part of a community. And so being hospitable in those situations is very important. And of course, Interweave. My sense of Interweave, and I'll stop talking here in a second, but is that we're a place that's hospitable to many people who are deeply rooted in their religious traditions or spiritual traditions, and then folks who aren't connected and, find a home in Interweave. As you mentioned, the Hearth is one of those places that I'm particularly involved with for Interweave, and there's some good things that happen when people get together and enjoy each other's company. And I think that's in some ways the heart of hospitality, is simply being in good company with others and being receptive to others. I'll leave it at that for the moment. And we need to hear from Dilek.
We do. And I will just say, in a further introduction of Dilek, that it is one of her signature gifts as well. And
Good morning.
good morning, Dilek. Thank you for being here so early. And I know I recently experienced your gift of hospitality at a Thanksgiving event
Oh yeah.
with Peace Islands and Turkish Cultural Center. So
Yes, yes,
you are all the
absolutely.
time showing me the gift of hospitality, as is Shawn.
Yeah, and before we start this conversation every year, the topic is hospitality. I never think about that. The hospitality can be a gift. It is a very interesting point at that time, but you always underline that when we get together and so on. So I figured out later, yeah, it is the very nice to have get the people together. Even our house, even the Turkish Cultural Center or Peace Islands Institute or Interweave programs, the hospitality, it's the bringing to people together. It is very nice, and then inside the itself, this is the hope for future, and then together every time talking with the people and sharing our stories, or even the daughters of Abraham, what we have every month, right? So it is very, very special for us. And then I can leave that point right now, and we can go in more deep. What is comes from this hospitality? How is we differentiation and different point of view we can look at, right?
Absolutely. And whether we're talking about it's like usually the telethon is a little earlier. This is the latest we've done it, actually. So we usually traditionally have done it around Thanksgiving time, which is the kind of event we were at. But I want to say that the thing that really strikes me when I go to something with Peace Islands or Turkish Cultural Center is that you are bringing people around the table from different backgrounds and introducing them to each other, kind of like opening a door. And um, I think Sean alluded to this. It's sort of a metaphor for what we're called to do spiritually for each other. And what a time to be doing that. I mean, not, people, I think, need a safe haven right now. So this art of practice, and I think people know when you go to when somebody has the ability to make you feel welcome, that some people are just really good at that. um Sean, as a connoisseur, as a master hospitality giver, how what would you say is at the heart of this gift of hospitality, this art of hospitality, and why it's so important right now?
I think, as you were just saying, the idea that we put people at ease, let them be um, at home, if you will, but the sense of being able to kind of understand how somebody else's perspective, the we are we humans are just egocentric by nature, and I don't mean that so much in the negative sense, like we talk about somebody, oh, that person's so egocentric, I can't stand to be around them. But egocentric in the sense of I see the world through my own eyes. I'm looking at things through my own eyes. So hospitality, I think, the real key piece is to ask, how do others see? How do we encounter people and have some sense? We won't know it fully because that's their gift, that's who they are. But how do we have some sense of how they see things? Just as a little example, and this is a very traditional, customary thing that we all do kind of without even thinking. When somebody comes to visit your home, or in my case, comes to my office where I work, one of the first things I'll do is say, would you like something to drink, a cup of coffee or a glass of water? That's a very particular way of seeing that interaction that includes some understanding of that person's perspective. Maybe they're thirsty, maybe they're hungry. And so it's not about whether I'm hungry or thirsty, it's whether that other person is. And so we, by definition in hospitality, try to get our minds somewhat inside that of whoever is the guest in the situation. And that can extend to all sorts of things. I think about my work as a parish priest. I know that when someone comes on a Sunday morning for a service, if it's their first time to come and be a guest in the church where I'm serving, they don't know where the bathroom is. They don't know what page of what book we're in. And so finding ways to be hospitable to people and say, we're starting here, or if you need something, the kitchen or bathroom is down that way, you know, and let's help you find the place that you need to find. I think that's all part of the perspective of being hospitable. I learned, for example, when I was managing the retreat center, when people would come for retreats, and my office was right by the front door of that building, the question I got asked most was, "Where's the bathroom?" So you know, someone has been traveling for an hour or two or whatever it has been to get there. From their perspective, they need something, and that is the bathroom. I may want to have a nice chit chat and where are you from and all that, but the truth is what they needed is the bathroom. So I learned very quickly to say, well, the bathrooms are down there, and then when you're, you know, come back and we'll talk about where your room is and that kind of thing. And so you really do have to try to gain some of the perspective of the other person, which, you know, maybe jumping ahead here, but that's what our world needs right now, is some sense of appreciation for other people and how they see the world, so that we can bridge some of that divide that a lot of us keep bumping into day by day.
Absolutely. Dilek, do you find that people are often surprised when they experience hospitality at one of your events?
Yeah, you know, we always open the door and then they're welcoming our center, and because sometimes the people, the first time to see the Turkish people, Turkish American society maybe, and generally the guest is our perspective. That Shawn say the similar things. We understand as a Sufism and then the Islamic perspective. The guest comes from to the God, the sent us. Always we think about this perspective, and that's the value from that. So, for example, right now is modern time, but before back in the day, there's no phone, there's no internet. The guest comes without calling, right? So you can open the door and then welcoming, because the God sending to the need people, if they need something, as Shawn said, do you need the water right now, modern time? Do you need any things or the bathroom or so on? So this is very important, the bottom line for us. And then when Shawn talk about that, it remind me as a tradition in Ottoman time, back in a day in the history. There's a tradition. I don't want to be a little the mistake, but I remember when the guests come to your house, because of the politely, they don't ask, are you hungry? They prepare the tray and coffee and the water. They offer the coffee or water together, and if guest taking the water, which means the guest is hungry, because Turkish coffee is very, very strong. If you are hungry, you cannot drink coffee because your stomach is hurt. Your stomach's gonna be hurt. So this sign of, if taking the water, they prepare the food because the guest is hungry. So this is a very unique tradition we carry from the history. So I think this is very important, how we as beautifully and politely to welcoming the guests. And then right now, as my house, I'm trying to keep that tradition different way, to when my guest is coming to my house or the cultural center. For example, we go out, or we wait on the door, waiting to welcoming. It is important. And then when the guest is leaving, we try to go on the outside. this is our, the Turkish traditions comes and then with the hospitality. But at that point, we talked with Shawn yesterday a little bit. I was thinking about the hospitality, what we talk during years. I would like to look at hospitality from different, not the different perspective, but the bottom line, and then go first. How does nature offer us hospitality, which means that would be more appropriate to call this hospitality of the creator to human being? I think we should start from here. This is it comes to me, and when I'm thinking why the people we are to be the hospitality, it's very the focus, or it is very important for us, because the world has been perfectly and flawlessly prepared in every way for human beings.
We're really modeling the gift of creation when we set the table. The table has
Yeah,
already been set for us. That is so beautiful, Dilek.
yeah, and this is very meaningful for us. Should be meaningful for water, air, soil, countless beautiful flowers. This is the bottom line, is what we need: the sun, the air, the water, and but not stop here, right? The nature gives us the beautifully and aesthetic, and then the comes from the art from that. So I think this is the very important for us to when we prepare our guests and so on. We talk about the holidays, right? So can you imagine how we prepare ourselves every year in America, in the Ramadan and Hanukkah, or the Passover and Christmas and Thanksgiving? We try to be best to our table. So why we are doing that? Because even we aware or not, the human being, the nature, with welcoming us very aesthetic way, very nice way, to God create the universe for us, because we are so valuable as a human being, in the most valuable creation on the earth. So it is very touchy, and then it's very important for me to looking at this point of view, I think.
I love it because you're really pointing to the deeper meaning of the gift. We're really modeling with our hospitality, the hospitality that has already been offered to us. I love the way you said that creation is setting the table for us, offering us water and sun and all the things we need to be here on the planet. And in a way, hospitality is an extension of those first gifts that have already been offered to us.
Yes,
And you
absolutely.
remind us too that this is a very ancient tradition, that so many of our rituals are connected with hospitality. Shawn, I want to let you chime in, and then I want to recall a meal that we have often broken together. Go ahead.
Well, the thing I would add is, and you two have heard me talk about this before, and perhaps others, but I grew up on a farm, a small farm. It wasn't a big farm, but there were plenty of times. And so we raised cattle and chickens and fruit orchards and big gardens and all those kinds of wonderful things. And I make it sound like a very idyllic growing up, and it was in some ways. It was also a lot of work, as many people will know who are gardeners. It's a lot of work to produce some food. But the idea that we are receiving God's hospitality through the gifts of creation, I think is a pretty compelling picture, because, for me growing up, there were occasionally times, not every meal, but occasionally there were times where my mother, after we sat down for dinner, would would take note and say, everything we're eating here, we grew right here on the farm. And you know, that wasn't always the case, but sometimes it was. And that's kind of a remarkable thing, you know, when your food only comes 100 yards away from the dinner table, to be able to say what a gift that is. And you know, and I think that's unfortunately one of the challenges for us these days is that, you know, so much of our food comes, you know, wrapped in plastic and it gets scanned with a barcode and everything else. Our disconnect with creation or disconnect from creation doesn't allow us to see that connection with the hospitality that God and the creation give us, because we think food comes from the grocery store or it comes out of a plastic package. But the truth is, as Dilek, you did remind us of this wonderfully, that all of those gifts are really freely given to us in the way that creation works. The fact that the water flows and seeds get planted, and yes, a lot of work on our part, no doubt about that. But we don't actually produce the food. It comes from the gift of the earth. There's a wonderful line in one of Wendell Berry's poems when he says that no leaf is produced by work of ours. He says, you know, basically those of us who do a garden or farmers have that background. We plant and then we go rest. We let it be. And I think that to me is a very clear sign of what you're talking about, Dilek, the idea that the creation gives to us in such a wonderfully hospitable way. And truth be told, all of our needs are met right there. You know, we don't, if we have other needs, they're probably kind of manufactured on our part. But all the things that are already there are given to us. And I just think that's a wonderful picture. I did want to prompt Dilek, because you had as we were talking about this, you talked about a tree, and as somebody who loves trees, some of you know this too. You were talking about a tree that had been a real gift to your family, and then it sadly it was cut down, and you didn't have it, and you really were sharply aware of how it was a gift.
Yeah, before I never think about the old trees or all trees about in the nature. I never think about that. How it's beautifully. This is the important gift to all the trees, because I never think about. I know you have a very deep knowledge about the trees, kind of trees, and so on. I always admire that, but in my personal experience was not like that, because never thinking about how is important, and then very important in my life before they cutting my trees in front of my house. I always love my trees because the view of my house from the window, when I looking and I observe all the time two seasons, and the winter, summer, and then I know the tree was old. It comes from some, you know, the parts of, you know, the not even the falling down the leaves, but even the sometimes the comes from the, you know, the like a skin goes apart. Sometimes it's the fall down. But you know, like a human, he got sick and be old, and the expert comes, and because after so much rain is a big branch, what is that? The branches fall down. It was so dangerous. So they decided to cut it. But oh my God, I cried a lot. And it was a long, very long swing on top on the tree. And then in the COVID time, we enjoyed a lot in front of the house. And then my daughter was small at that time, and then we enjoy all the time. So when they cut, oh my gosh, my heart is unbelievable sad. it's and then you know when they cut it, they waited to take off the roots, and it is the very small part, and then I sit on that, I talk with and then one day it's gone, the root is gone. Oh my gosh. And it remind me, believe me, Shawn, it remind me, we have a verse from the Quran, in the human being, one at a time, you were in the earth, and when you die, the people came to your grave and then pray you, but after generation and generation, you are like, no one reminds you, no one remember you were here or not, because the root is back, the root is gone. And I said to my husband, do you understand? No one can understand. There were a big tree was here.
Mhm. Mhm.
So this is the same. So I think is the good things to be remember is a nicely, and it's gone. It is very generosity in the universe. To God
Well,
is very generous, generosity all the time.
well, and actually on that point, so now you have an opportunity to plant a new tree, which to me, in my experience, has been that's a great sign of hope. I mean, we're talking about nurturing hope
Yes.
this morning, right?
Yes.
And I think the idea of planting a tree is a profound act of hope. I think back, for example, some years ago, in a church I was serving, a teenage young woman died very tragically. And, you know, we were all just so grief struck. We could barely see ahead of us a step or two. And at some point after that sort of settled a little bit, we decided to plant a tree in this young woman's memory. And I just remembered at the time what a hopeful thing that was. Here we were, you know, a life that was cut down, as you were describing, Dilek. And then we planted another tree in this young woman's memory. And in fact, I've driven by that tree over the years. It's probably been 10 or 15 years now. And of course, trees grow, and there's this sense of, you know, nurturing hope, and it continues to grow. And there's a real blessing in that. I think that's, you know, an aspect of what we do is continuously renewing that. And I just think that image of the tree that you had, Dilek, with that, it was a hospitable tree in a sense,
What the
right? I
hell?
mean,
Trees
you know,
are.
gave you shade, and it probably, you know, nurtured, gave
Yes,
you
of course.
oxygen. I mean, scientists could tell us all kinds of things. Yeah.
Everything. The video of the view from my, I had many pictures and videos on top, and my daughter swing, and then we laugh, and then family time we had, and our friends. And then when I see the interview sign behind the Janet, it is a tree, right?
Got it on my mug.
It's how beautiful. So
Mm.
I think this ongoing generosity to gives us the creation and human, it gives us the human strength and hope in the face of difficulties. This
In
is,
the
I
face,
think, this is the hope for us from the nature, I think.
you know, when as both of you were sharing, I had a recent memory that came to mind in the fall. Uh, my husband Carl and I had the privilege of going on a field trip with our granddaughter to a local farm. And here's the thing, the woman was given, it was a wonderful woman who gave the dose and said, this is a working farm. So, and as we walked around, there was this incredible beauty and the trees. And what amazed me was, and then all of a sudden, there was like a tractor just kind of laying there in the ground. And it was such a, as you were saying, a metaphor for here in the middle of everything, all this beauty. And then we had with our um, with the class of beautiful um, 4-year-olds, the best apple cider we'd ever, because it was from the apple trees themselves that were right
Oh,
there.
very nice.
And I thought, I have never had the privilege of drinking the most delicious apple cider I had ever drunk in my life. And you could feel it, how there was something that because we could see the trees that had given us this gift, this bounty, um, which comes from the largest of nature and the gift of
How
creation.
was reacted the granddaughter? She
My I think that my beautiful granddaughter Parker would agree that that was the best apple cider we ever had in her short life or our long life. So um but it reminds me of you know, we often have shared iftar together. Um,
Yeah.
and that is another place where we experience this bounty. Because it's a dinner to that comes at the end of the end of Ramadan, right? When we're breaking, well, not the end of Ramadan, when we're breaking fast
Yeah.
during Ramadan. And Shawn and I always say we feel like we're drunk after iftar, but there's no liquor. What is that, Shawn? How does that happen?
Hmm. Well, you're exactly right. I've the times that I've gotten to receive that wonderful gift of hospitality at an iftar dinner is just it really is it's intoxicating in a way. And it's the food is wonderful food. It's the good company of the people around the table. And one thing I don't know if I've said this, but before, but uh, Dilek, one of my memories of being at your home for iftar meals is that you and others will go to pray during the meal at certain times. You'll take a little break to go pray at the right times, according to the schedule that you have. And I've always felt like I was sort of surrounded by that prayer, that I was kind of, contained in that. And I think, that sense of, again, that sense of hospitality, of kind of being a safe place for someone. That's just been a lovely feeling. And I maybe that's part of that sense of, at the end of the meal, just having
Yeah,
it's not just food or
I
fuel for the
understand
body.
what you mean.
It's
Yeah.
spiritual in
It's
that
Yeah.
spiritual
sense.
food. We're sharing, as you say, the companionship and the beauty. There is again, you see the way that Dilek so beautifully prepares everything, so beautifully sets everything out for us. It's a sign of love. It's a sign of love.
This is the same as the gods welcoming us like that in the universe. I never think about that, but I understand because I always it is not, for example, some of my friends told me that for in the this year. We are 26 people for Thanksgiving dinner and at my house this year, this couple weeks ago. And I'm so sensitive about I don't like eating with plastic plates, never ever. And my friends always to offer, we are so many people. Why you are not serving the plastic table, plastic plate or fork or so on? Yes, of course, it's very easy, but I don't like it.
And it's so much it's friendlier to the people and it's friendlier to the universe.
Because it is the plastic, it is not nature. So I think the Shawn said these are all big frame pictures like that. because we need the connection with the universe all the time. So plastic is not from our nature. So I don't know why, but I don't like it. It's never ever, and then all my friends know that. When they offer some plastic table or something, they always bring me as a normal table,
Love it.
normal plate if they know me.
Hmm.
Because it is, when you eat something this is a gift from God. And then it serves always the original way. So
Amazing.
yeah, this is very important for me. I don't know. And then 26 people, they are eating.
If I can say, Dilek's wonderful husband Osman will always say, we're having 26 people, and we'll say, how is that possible? And Osman will say with a wink and a smile, because Dilek doesn't know how to count. And so I'll say Dilek counts with her heart and just keeps opening the door with this generosity. And there's always room at the table. That beautiful image that you said, I love that you said when there were no cell phones, no telephone, someone would just show up, and there is we
Yeah.
have an iconic image in the Abrahamic tradition
Yes, of
of
course.
Abraham is serving angels unawares.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know if you open your door that there might be an angel that is coming to visit you.
Yeah.
And to go back to the tree, because it's interesting that during pandemic times, I think people got a little bit more in tune with, I don't want to have fast food.
Yeah.
People started to cook again and
Yes.
pay attention to these things. And it really is a sign of love and taking care of ourselves. So we are.
But for us, for our house, doesn't change anything because we always prepare. We always prepare the food every day, almost me or my husband Osman, and then for feeding our child and so on. And when they eat the fast food in one at a time, and then next day, Mom, I want real food.
Real food. I love it.
The real food means you're gonna prepare something,
But the holidays do, and the holidays and holy days seem to mark time, like the rings on the tree, right?
Yes.
Year by year, Thanksgiving by Thanksgiving, Iftar by Iftar. There are, I think it's our human way of setting the ring. And we holidays are coming, holy days are coming. We have a tradition. I don't want to leave the hour that you both share a recipe, something that you make
Oh yeah.
that you love, because we always want to learn from they're not just master hospitality givers, not just reflections of God's generosity, because they're both that too, but they're also master chefs, master cooks, master bakers. So, who can somebody tell me something special that they enjoy making for any of this festive time that we're entering into?
You go first, Shawn.
Well, it's hard to pick something. But what I will say is that it's not so much the holidays as it is for us in the Christian tradition, of course, when we gather for worship, and not for all Sundays and all times, but very often it's to celebrate the Eucharist, Holy Communion, the Lord's Supper, as various traditions call it. And the church I'm serving is used to using those, those wafers that often are used in the celebration of the Eucharist. So a few weeks back, I asked the folks who are involved in preparing things, could we use some baked bread, real baked bread, homemade? And I said, I'll make it, because I love baking bread in particular. I love yeast breads. There's something about There's something about in yeast breads, right there in the bread itself, you have both death and resurrection. You've got these little yeasty things that are doing their, producing the bubbles and making the bread rise. And then you bake it and they die as part of that. And then somebody gets to eat the bread and they get to live because of that. I mean, you can just see the cycles running and running. So, long way of introducing. A couple of weeks ago at the church where I'm serving, we started using baked bread that I had made. And folks have been quite responsive to it. I think, they've been partly it's a surprise. It's like, oh, this is different. But also because it's like, oh, this is bread. Not many of us eat, little thin wafers as food during the normal course of our lives. It doesn't look like food in a sense, except maybe a cracker or something. So I've been doing that, and that's been kind of fun. I love baking yeast breads, and one of the things I realized I love about that is that much like Dilek, you talking about, the meals that you've prepared, and it takes time.
Yeah.
It just takes time, and there's something about that it slows us down. It puts us into a different pace of things. You watch and you wait to see if the bread has risen enough.
Yeah.
And then when it has, then you can form it into the loaf or make it into rolls or something like that. There's just something about that kind of pace. And I think, for example, we've talked about this probably before, but the whole idea of the slow food movement, which is kind of the antidote to fast food. So slow food is exactly what, Dilek, so well, and you share in your home. It takes time to prepare the food, to gather the people to sit down, to lay the dishes out, to do all of those things. It's not primarily about convenience. It's more about the community that happens around the table, and that just takes time. It doesn't happen because, you go through a drive-through and get a bag with a bunch of plastic containers and it's got, food that someone else has prepared whom you'll never meet, probably. Slow food is very
Yes,
sort of intentional, and there's something
is.
wonderful about it.
Yeah, it is because the human being and then the processing is everything. But we are modern time. We are living very fast. But it is the human being is not like that. Our genetic is not like that. We need the time, right? The baby is 9 months. It has to be mom has to carry for human being. So
Yeah.
it is everything consuming we need the time, but we just eating and then we produced everything the fast, and we couldn't digest anything. This is the important things. I think the Janet wants to say something.
Well, I don't want to leave without you telling me
Yeah.
what's your Shawn's go-to is bread during this
Oh
festival.
yeah,
What is
I'm
your
sorry.
go-to thing? And then I
Yeah.
want to say
Oh, this is
something
very special for me because this dish turned to project this year. This is very interesting because I learned from my mom and my grandmother. We are from the Kosovo, and my two sides is from Kosovo, my mom and my dad. And this is the general the pastry, but not just the pastry. It's a real food. We say börek, Albanian pie. We prepare with the spinach inside, but it is dough. So I make a dough myself, and then small pieces they weight, and then I prepare we layer the dough with butter, and it's gonna be taking a time to open with your tray. The tray is big, and almost 15 layers on bottom, and put the spinach and 15 layers on top, and and then close down the edges, and then we put the oven. So it's not easy to make it, I know, But it's turned a project, and then as Turkish Cultural Center, we make the project for Humanities Lab. Humanities Lab, it's provide some fund for kind of project, and then they loved our project. And then I took camera at the kitchen, and then my daughters took me when I prepare, and I explain when we eat this food, with occasion, and how I learned this food from my ancestry. And then the project named is Food Tales, Preserving Heritage, Creating Harmony. So this project, we got a grant, and I would like to invite you as well next month. It starts with our turn, because it's gonna be 8 different background and story of food. For example, the Jewish friends gonna bring their own food and prepare, and then they tell about their story. And Italians and the Greeks and the different background, 8 foods gonna be present. Every program we have 2 foods, and then we will start. It's my food, and I explain, and then I make a video.
Sounds very exciting. Wow.
So this is my favorite one. It's the pie, spinach pie for style Kosovo style spinach pie. It's very very special for me. I'm so proud of, because I put my grandmother pictures and so on the project.
I love that. I love that. I love the sense of heritage, the sense of generosity,
Yes.
the sense of many traditions coming together.
Yes.
In case you missed it, just to underscore, we've been really talking about spiritual practice in hospitality. Slow down, make it beautiful, open your door. Creation is setting the table for us. Open your eyes. Thank you, Shawn Carty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dilek Oztoprak, master hospitality givers, for showing us the deeper connection to how hospitality is an art and a spiritual practice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for being with
Thank
us.
you.
Pleasure for us.
Delight to be together.